And once again, another edition of the Takeover presented by DraftKings Sportsbook is here for you. Yes, the NBA Cup is back, and I'll tell you what, it's got my attention as we're winding down and getting closer to, of course, the knockout round and then semifinal taking place in Las Vegas until we crown a champion, also in Vegas as well. Sean Brace and Sean Barnard with you. Sean Barnard covers the 76ers and the NBA for us here on The Gambler as well. Represents the squad over at DraftKings Sportsbook, DKNation.com. You see the handle on the screen at Sean_Barnard1. Good afternoon, Sean. How are we doing today?
Yeah, doing well. And me and the DK Network guys chopping it up over there. So excited about all that. Turning out a ton of plays. That's all right, Brace. All good there. But we got 5 games of NBA Cup action tonight. Excited to dive into each and every one of those. Got some fun teams playing here. So I think the NBA Cup is playing out as the league would hope. A lot of good action that has been played. And I think the intensity will only get ratcheted up a little bit more as they get past these opening rounds. So excited to talk about it.
See, I have it bookmarked and I go to it and I don't type it in. So therefore, that's why it's all running. DKNetwork.com. It better be a part of your daily reading. Trust me when I tell you that. Whether it's fantasy, wagering, NBA, NFL, college basketball, college football, podcasts, you name it, they have it. DKNetwork.com. While we're with the folks from DraftKings Sportsbook, yes, this is the takeover. And once again, so much going on in the world of the NBA Cup, but it's important for you to take apart what everything DraftKings is offering. Once again, new users, if you haven't signed up, they got some great promos happening right now. Just use Brace as the promo code there. But if you already have the DraftKings Sportsbook app downloaded to your phone, which a lot of us do, and you're looking to get involved in tonight's action, just to let you know, get on over there to the app and you will be able to see exactly what they have going on tonight. And once again, it is the twofer. And you can go ahead and fire one on the live line, live action. And then you can also take part in their other promo leading up to the games. We'll see if we can find a winner. And that's what we were trying to do last time. And why not? With the 2 profit boost to use on Tuesday's NBA Cup game, Sean Barnard and Sean Brace right here. We will try to find those winners for you. All right, only 5 games on the card this evening. So real quick before we dive into the game, Sean Barnard, and we kind of reflect on what we've seen so far with, I believe, 4 days of play, 4 days of NBA Cup action, if I'm not mistaken, as we are on to week number 3 here every Tuesday and Friday. Just to let you know, there are 3 more nights of group play, which concludes on Tuesday, December 3rd. The top 8 teams in the East and the West, the winners of groups A, B, and C, plus 2 wild cards, the teams from each conference with the best record in group play games that finish second in its groups, they will advance to the single elimination knockout rounds. I'm not going to get into the tiebreakers. Just know if you continue to win, you're going to be putting yourself into a better situation. We do want to send a salute, raise the glass, if we will, to the New Orleans Pelicans. Better luck next year. The only team that is eliminated so far. Do you have a thought on the Pelicans other than the fact that everybody has been hurt for them, Sean Barnard?
Yeah, I was going to say the Pelicans make these Sixers injuries look mild compared to them this year. That we're talking about Zion being out for an extended period of time, DeJounte Murray breaking his hand on the very first game this season, a ton of other injuries. Trey Murphy's been out, Jose Alvarado's been out, CJ McCollum has been out. Basically everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. So kind of disappointed because I was excited for that team coming into the season and did think that they had a little bit of buzz about them. Was excited to see how DeJounte Murray could unlock them a little bit further, but we're really not probably going to see it for the entirety of this season. So a bit of a lost year for the Pelicans. Do think they have some questions to answer moving forward, but really unfortunate circumstances, not fully their fault there.
4-14 on the season. Yep. That is that the worst record? Nope. Hello.
Wizards.
The Pelicans have a better record than the 76ers.
Yeah, that is fair.
Oh.
And Sixers not the worst anymore. The Washington Wizards back holding that crown. So we'll see if that lasts and how long. I don't feel great about the next time the Sixers get back on the court. No Paul George, Joel Embiid still, and facing a very good Houston Rockets team. But for the short term, take away the worst record title from the Sixers.
Wow. All right. We'll talk about regular season action with the 76ers to close up shop here in the takeover. But today, all things NBA Cup, once again, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Just real quick, if we could, we just hit on the only loser at this point in time, but still plenty of teams involved. There's only one team that advanced so far, the Golden State Warriors, 3-0. They just punched their ticket to the knockout round. Pretty as easy as it gets. Hand in the air. I know Sam Austria as well, our good friend Sam, had the Warriors winning it all. I do as well. And Steph Curry, I have a ticket for him to win MVP. So far, so good there. Also, though, want to shine the light on the Houston Rockets, Sean Barnard. This team is 2-0 in the NBA Cup right now. They outscored the Clippers and the Trailblazers by a combined 49 points across the two victories. And, I wanted to talk to you about the Houston Rockets last week because they were at that point in time, I think 11-5. They're 12-6. Here we are, which is good for third in the West. Where are you at right now? Let's put the NBA Cup just for 1 second to the side. Where are you at right now with the ceiling when it comes to the Houston Rockets, 24-25?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're absolutely a playoff team. I think they will be in the playoffs and probably lean towards them being in that top 6 seed range. The West is incredibly competitive, far more than the East. So there's always the chance they can hit a cold spell and slide down those standings pretty significantly. But I've been pretty impressed with what I've seen so far. 12-6, 2-0 in the NBA Cup play, third place in the Western Conference. That's impressive stuff for a very young core. I still think they have some questions to answer in the long run about who are the foundational pieces of that team. Jabari Smith has been a guy a little bit on the outside looking in this year. That certainly has piqued my interest from a trade potential situation. Tari Eason, Cam Whitmore, also guys I don't think getting the necessary burn. That would likely be the case on other teams, but they got a ton of young talent. Jalen Green, still some questions there. The efficiency, just not quite there. And it was interesting, like the max contract that they invested in him was a little bit more of a prove-it max contract than I've ever seen, and a guy that I'm not sure if they are sold on him being the face of the franchise and the way this team's really designed, but Şengün's been really good. Fred VanVleet bringing a little bit of spark to that team. Dylan Brooks has been as expected as far as bringing some personality, bringing some toughness. So there's a lot of good basketball players on this team. They're one of the deeper teams across the league, and I do think that they have the potential to make some noise in the playoffs. Defensively, they're just about off the charts.
Good coach too as well. We'll talk about them because they are in action tonight. They're one of the 5 games in the NBA Cup. But like I said, that was the one that I really wanted to get into last week. So I'm glad that they've continued to keep it going in the right direction. Really surprising. This team has drafted super, super well as you go down the list of the roster, no doubt. Reed Sheppard, though. Talk a little bit about what Reed Sheppard has shown you so far this year. 38% from downtown, only getting a little bit of a run. I think he's averaging 11, 10 minutes per game here. Of course, the points per game they're not there for him. Last night against the Portland Trailblazers, or 2 nights ago against the Portland Trailblazers, he had 11 minutes of play, 3 of 6, 2 of 4 from downtown, finished with 8 points. Is that consistently what we're seeing from Reed Sheppard so far this year?
Yeah, even below that, unfortunately. And it really has been opportunity more than anything that's limiting them. That on the season as a whole, 12.4 minutes per game. That is 8th on the Rockets there. I think Fred VanVleet's like the obvious guy you would point to here as far as who's stealing his minutes. They gave VanVleet obviously a pretty hefty contract to be a little bit more of that veteran presence. And he's been just fine. He's been as expected. He's averaging 14.5 points per game. His shooting numbers a little bit down this year, 30.5% from 3 for VanVleet, but playing 33.9 minutes per game. Throughout his career, he's been one of the more durable players across the league, and a guy that's been in the mix for most minutes, particularly dating back to his Raptors days there. Kind of surprised that it's continuing to be the opportunity he's receiving down in Houston. I think it would be beneficial both in the short and long term to give a little bit more freedom to the young guys like Sheppard there. So I've been surprised just how limited he is. He was pretty popular Rookie of the Year pick and really impressed me in Summer League, getting a chance to look at him up close and personal in those games there. So better days will be ahead for Reed Sheppard. I would like to see this opportunity expand for him, but for the short term, at least, he's just kind of playing less minutes than I think anyone like guessed or would hope for at this point is really all it is.
So if you do have that DraftKings Sportsbook Rookie of the Year play with Reed Sheppard, it's going to be tough to cash at this point in time. Still plenty of hoop to be played. It's only November. Sixer fans will tell you that the season hasn't even started yet. Hell, Sixers players will even tell you that. So we'll see about that. Anyways, one more note on the Houston Rockets. They could become the second team to join the Golden State Warriors with a win with the win this evening over the Minnesota Timberwolves. We'll break that one down in just a second here. Quickly, just the overview as far as what we've seen so far. Magic and Bucks, Magic have really impressed me. Wagner's played well, of course, with Boncaro being out, dealing with that injury, and the Bucks are 2-0. So both of those teams could advance as well. Lakers 2-0 in the West Group C. I don't think there's too much of a surprise there, especially when the one game, I think Dalton Knecht hit 9 threes in an NBA Cup game. So that might even be a record. I know it just started last year, but still something to keep your eye on. Plenty of teams in the hunt. Here's the one. We'll put the bow on the overall conversation at this point in time and move into the games. The question I have you for right now, Sean Barnard, is what is the team that nobody's talking about? Do we just mention them there? Is there a team that's under the radar than the usual suspects that you think could get the Vegas, advance to the championship game, and then ultimately lift that crown out there for the NBA Cup 2024?
Yeah, I think it is the Houston Rockets, who we just mentioned there. That one of the boxes that I kind of check when evaluating what makes sense for a team or who's going to go hard at this. It is the youth of the roster. It is guys who don't know what it's like to lose or don't have that mentality. They're not afraid of the moment, and it's not quite the same standard as a playoff atmosphere. As much as the NBA is doing their best to dress it up like that, and I understand all the effort there, I do think it is a different thing there. And I think this specific NBA Cup caters to teams that are fearless, are young, and are playing well early on. That I think a lot of these teams, and you can kind of say this across all sports, but you might get slightly different results if you play the actual playoffs or championship at different segments of the season. Teams go through their ups and downs there. The Rockets are very clearly playing some really good basketball right now. They look hungry. They play a defensive-minded approach that I think translates to just about every matchup there. So I think the Houston Rockets have a real deal chance at winning this entire cup.
Boom. We'll be cutting that one, putting that out there for all things on DraftKings Sportsbook. Once again, great cut by you, Sean Barnard, on that one. NBA Cup Double Up Profit Boost Pack available. You get 2 profit boosts, one for live action, one leading into the games. Hopefully we can lead you in the right direction right here, right now on the Takeover presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. All right, Sean Barnard, let's dive into it. What do you say here? 5 games on the card and no 76ers. So we can all just take a deep breath and focus on these games this evening for the NBA Cup. The explosive electric floors are going to be back in our lives again. Let's open up with the Wizards and the Chicago Bulls. No surprise, Bulls 5-point favorites on the road here. 245. Do they not play any defense between these two teams? Is there not a big man on these teams, Sean Barnard? 5 spread. Bulls are favored. No surprise there with the Wizards having the worst record in the league. But maybe they want to show a little fight here going up against the Bulls team that hasn't been the best either. Your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, and I think it happens, to be honest. I like the Wizards to get the outright victory here, plus 170 on the money line. Been really impressed with kind of the youth movement that's beginning to transpire there. Bilal Coulibaly has been off the charts good, particularly on the defensive end this season. The Bulls are playing better basketball that I've seen some signs of progress. Zach LaVine in particular, I think, has taken some strides forward. Nikola Vucevic, I think, has flown below the radar as far as that big man that you were asking about, Sean Brace, but certainly not a guy that's ever going to be known for his rim protection or defensive ability there, particularly at this point in his career. But with this Wizards team, I think there's more youth. I think there's more hunger. And I do believe that there are some things starting to connect together. You're still going to get your dumb shots from Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole across games. You can't get that fully out of things. But I think there's more talent here. And I'm feeling, I guess, for the first time in several years, feeling like the Wizards are on the proper development track as an organization. So I think tonight's a great opportunity for them, and I think they get the job done.
Has Jordan Poole been a good signing by the Wizards?
I wouldn't say yes to that.
He's averaging 21 points this year.
He is. In fairness to him, he's been far better this year than was the case last year. It was shocking to me how bad he was last season. And beyond that, I thought he would be entertaining bad. You can watch these guys on bad teams and enjoy it. It was just bad basketball to watch. I didn't like watching Jordan Poole pretty much at all last year. And it's always interesting with those Warriors players. It's obviously such a unique system out there in Golden State with the off-ball motion, the different sets that they run offensively. You never fully know how these guys are going to translate when they kind of get reduced to a more traditional offense. I was pretty optimistic about Jordan Poole being a guy that is positive in that, dating back to his time at Michigan, ran more of a traditional offense and has shown that he is capable of that. We haven't really seen it in Washington. So I've been underwhelmed by what I've seen from Jordan Poole. Still rooting for the guy. Hate how things ended there with the Draymond punch and everything else that went on behind the scenes. So hoping he fully turns things around and is showing some progress this year. But I've been very underwhelmed by what he's brought to the Wizards.
That's got to be tough, man. For the rest of his life, he is going to be associated with that one punch.
Yep.
You bring up Jordan Poole. It has nothing to do with anything he's ever done on the NBA floor. It's the fact that on a practice court, he got punched in the head by Draymond Green, who is the ultimate victim the biggest victim this society has ever created on a sports franchise and any sports franchise, it's Draymond Green. That guy never does anything wrong. Zach Edey's got him by the leg. Oh, it's because Edey was running. I'm trying to prove my toughness to him. I'm trying to get him ready to go. The biggest victim ever in sports, Draymond Green. He's made a name for himself. He's doing all right with that. Yeah, Jordan Poole, just again, Sean, this year he's definitely turned around. I get it. It's probably easier, but 44% from downtown, that's pretty dang on good, man.
Yeah, can't argue that. The numbers are the numbers. Again, he's certainly been far better this year than last year. Last year was absolutely kind of a lost year for him and below the floor of what I expected his play could settle in at. So happy to see him having some success there. I still don't think he's exactly what they were hoping for when they signed as far as like moving forward with the franchise. I think for now he's kind of an innings eater guy that will be the primary source of the offense, and eventually that there will be a little bit of a divorce there.
All right, one more on this game, and specifically for Zach LaVine, is this the year he gets traded?
I don't think so, to be honest. It feels like this is going to be an every year thing. We've had other guys that have fallen on the perennial trade rumor list. Zach LaVine absolutely makes that list right now. I think he has a worse reputation than he deserves, to be perfectly honest. He's not a perfect basketball player. He has his flaws in a pretty hefty contract, which is what scares off a lot of teams. But the dude loves basketball. The dude competes. He's had some injury issues. Phenomenal shooter. I love his off-ball motion. I would like to see LaVine get sent to a team that he has a chance to contend on. That is not Chicago, unfortunately, but I think it's more likely than not that he ends up just staying there until after the break.
All right. Next game up on the card, again, Milwaukee Bucks, a win, and they advance. They're 2-0 in the group stage. They are 2-point dogs on the road in Miami. 223 is our total. Doc's got the team playing better. They've actually turned it around as of late, and you're talking about a team that lost their first 8 out of 10 games, and since basically for the past 7 games, they've won 6 out of their 7 and have won 4 straight. As I said, 2-0 right now in the round robin, 1 win here, and they will advance, but they're a 2-point dog tonight, which is interesting. Sean Barnard, your thoughts on this game tonight?
I'm staying with my underdog trend that I do like the Bucks to get the outright victory here. I will note Giannis listed on the injury report with the left calf strain, but he is probable. So it is expected that he will play, but that is something that, especially when you kind of think back to the track record of guys, that calf injuries can lead to some nasty stuff. So just keep an eye on that. If there is any reports of him being downgraded leading up until tip-off, that's something that I would absolutely get off the wagon for this Bucks team, because they go as Giannis goes. But he's been incredible this year, man. And what I'm seeing more specifically from Giannis, beyond the offensive output, which has been absurdly good by every single angle, there's this will to win. And if I'm carrying this team to wins, then I'll do whatever it takes to get those, that I just love watching, man. It's really cool when you see a guy get fired up like that, leaving it all on the floor. And you know what? He's getting the results as well. So not a good start for this Milwaukee Bucks team. It's been a little bit up and down from Damian Lillard. I was hopeful at the start of the season that he could be back to form, as we saw a little bit of spark for that. But he's had his good nights and bad nights. That obviously a huge aid when he can get hot from deep, but it hasn't been as reliable of a threat as I kind of hoped there. But I'll still roll with Giannis. I don't love this Heat team. I think they're still putting all the pieces together. They've been okay. Tyler Hero has been terrific, so props to him. Jimmy Butler back in action. Bam Adebayo has been underwhelming, but ultimately, I do think that the Bucks take care of business and get the outright win tonight.
Yeah, I think the story with the Miami Heat, of course, with injuries, I think you got to focus on Tyler Hero. You brought that up, I think, 2 weeks ago, it might have been. And, he's been featured a lot in these post-game press conferences. Jimmy Butler, of course, comes back. He drops 33 his last time out. Big win against the Dallas Mavericks. They've won 2 straight now, the Miami Heat, including the 76ers, over the 76ers and the Dallas Mavericks. One player that I want to talk about real quick from the Miami Heat perspective, Jaime Jaquez. He was a big difference maker last year. They got a great pick with him, and I liked him coming out of UCLA. I was kind of surprised that he was able to bring his slow, lethargic game to the NBA and have the effect that he did, but it doesn't surprise me. The dude's a hooper, but what are we seeing from him right here in this season?
Yeah, has seen his opportunities scaled back a little bit this season. Looking at last year, averaged 28.2 minutes per game, has dropped to 22.7 to start this year. I think that's a bit of having to do with other guys being healthy, even while the Heat have still dealt with injury issues this year. Last year was far worse as far as how many guys were not available on a night-to-night basis there. The shooting numbers have not been overly encouraging for Jaquez, 41.3% from the floor, a bit of a step back from 48.9% last year. He is shooting 36.8% from 3, but a little bit shorter volume there, 1.9 per game. I think he's going to be just fine. I think that the ceiling for Jaquez is a little bit what we expected it to be, when I think there was some initial hope that maybe this guy is going to, break out for more than we thought he could be. He was an older rookie coming into the class. That was one of the concerns with him. Still an NBA ready player, still a winning player that I would consider that. Still like him in the long haul, but I do think that he's pretty much penciled in for one of these role player type guys, which is absolutely fine. Nothing wrong with that, but I don't think there's more as we kind of initially hoped.
All right, Sean Barnard, Sean Brace, breaking down all things NBA Cup. It's the takeover presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. 2 dogs, 2 games in. Let's keep it moving. Third game up here on the DraftKings card for tonight's NBA action. Rockets and T-Wolves. We talked about this one as well with the Houston Rockets and what they've shown so far. However, they're 3.5-point dogs on the road in Minnesota. Let's take it from Houston's perspective, since we already started there. Team has been playing great this season. Udoka is just he's a really good coach. I can't say great right now because we got to see him a little bit more, in my opinion. But man, he's got it grooving right now. That's a really deep team, as we talked about a little earlier here. This is a Houston Rockets team that hasn't lost back-to-back games all season. Last time out, they did just lose to the Portland Trailblazers. So here we are staring at that possibly being a first time. They've won 12 out of the first 18 games on the season. It's been a little while since we've had a Houston Rockets team start off the way that they did this year. And especially, I don't remember too many people talking about expectations for the Rockets this year. I don't know. You could correct me on that one. And then back over to the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think, for my money, one of the more disappointing teams.
Yeah.
500 record. You go out there, you make all those moves, you make a trade. Is this a spot for the Minnesota Timberwolves? Not even tonight's game, but right here, right now, this stretch going into December before Christmas, like where we start to see the T-Wolves find their groove, or do they have some issues this year they need to figure out?
Yeah, I think they have some issues that they need to figure out. I know the clip that was going viral all over the place of Rudy Gobert posting up Julius Randle refusing to give him the ball, that leading to a 5-second violation, and then the next play down, Randle kind of firing at him. It does seem like there's some locker room issues there. I can't find a single NBA player I've ever seen say they like Rudy Gobert, which also I think is a bit of a concern there. Ultimately, like, the Timberwolves very clearly handed the keys to Anthony Edwards with this Karl-Anthony Towns trade. And I do think that is the right overall decision there. I think finances obviously played a role with the contract the Cat was on there. It might have been a bit premature. And yes, I think Edwards is ready for that. I do think Randle is not a clean fit. He's had his moments where he's looked okay, and it's disappointing to me because I want to like Julius Randle, and there's times where I do. He's a great playmaker from the big man spot. You can see him get hot for stretches, but he brings so much of this loser energy at times that is really tough to watch from just flipping through channels and seeing him on the screen there. So I'm pretty out on this Timberwolves team from this year's perspective. I'm not sure if I see it, and there is talent there, so it's hard to be fully. But I do think this is a spot where the Rockets can absolutely jump on them. Their youth is going to make an impact. They're a team that plays hard from start to finish. They've also been off since Saturday, so a little bit of extra rest there. I like the Rockets to jump on them, so I'm sticking with my trend of the dogs barking tonight and taking the Rockets outright. That number is at plus 136.
I'm smelling a parlay. That's what I'm smelling right now with all these dogs going head to head, or that you're picking so far. I like it. Keep it going here. Just to let you know, as I said, Minnesota Timberwolves 8-8 on the season, 6-10 ATS. They are 9-7 to the over, so you see some production there, some scoring going on. And as we pointed out already, with the success that the Houston Rockets are having, 12-6, no surprise. 12-6 ATS, a little on the under, 7-11 to the under on the season so far. All right, fourth game up on the card. Let's keep it going. Spurs and Jazz. I don't think you're taking the Jazz here, but I'm not trying to put any picks in your mouth here. Spurs 2.5-point road favorites in Utah. Playing some better basketball. Give them a little shout out. 225 is your total in this one. Not by much, though. 9-10 tip here. NBA Cup Game 4 on the docket this evening. Sean Barnard, your thoughts?
Yeah, this is where my dog's trend will break, because I do like the Spurs minus 2.5 tonight. I will say, watch that Jazz versus Knicks game this weekend. Was very impressed with the way that Utah played. Saw Lauri Markkanen drop a 30-plus point performance. Saw them basically control that game pretty much from start to finish in that, and ended a pretty comfortable victory. I believe 15 points was the final margin of victory there. I think Utah has something there. They're turning things around a bit from the start of the season here, but this isn't something that I think this is a spot where they can take advantage. The Spurs are bordering on real deal good. that I think this is another team that's going to be right in that playoff mix. Chris Paul still playing some very good basketball. Victor Wembanyama obviously continues to put things together. Still needs to put a little bit of work on kind of cleaning up his shot diet. I feel that he's a little bit too lenient on the perimeter, and it's, he's still in his second year in the NBA. It's work in progress. They're not going to be too hard on him, but he's going to be the best player on the floor by a comfortable margin tonight. So I like the Spurs to take care of business, cover the -2.5, and buying more stock in the Spurs moving forward on the season.
This is a crazy, it's a fact. It's not a stat, but this is the 4th time that these teams have played already this season.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And just to let you know, if I can pull this up real quick, I just had it. I believe they're 2-3. San Antonio's taken 2 of 3 against Utah so far this year. Last time out was on November 21st, just a couple days ago. 126-118. Spurs won. Game was in San Antonio. Previous November 9th, game was in San Antonio. The Jazz won by a point. They were 6.5-point dogs. They won outright there. And then back on Halloween in Utah, San Antonio smashed the Jazz 106-88. The Spurs were 2-point favorites there. Spurs have been playing great basketball at home, 6 out of their last 9, but this game being played in Utah, and you're not going to take the dog here. I'm actually smelling the dog. I'm smelling the dog, but it's going to be a little difficult for me to put my hard-earned money on this Utah Jazz squad, but we'll revisit that in a little bit. All right. Wemby, let's go ahead while we're here. It's always fun to take a look at his props just because of who he is. So we're looking at 27 is his number on DraftKings Sportsbook, -115 from the player point prop. Where do we stand on Wemby as far as point production this evening going up against this Jazz team?
Yeah, I know I've mentioned it on here before, but I do feel like his numbers tend to get a little bit inflated from people wanting to get in on the Victor Wembanyama action. As far as the season as a whole, he's averaging 22.9 points per game, so a decent chunk below that there. He still has had his moments where he's shined. He's had a 50-point performance already this year, obviously. Only 4 games over 27.5 this year on the season as a whole. So I don't love the over from this perspective. I do think it's a pretty good matchup. Walker Kessler, if that's the guy they're going to be tasked with matching up with him, I don't think you can, because Wembanyama is just going to step out of the perimeter, and Walker Kessler not really capable of moving his feet out there. A premier shot blocker, although Wembanyama back to leading the league with 3.6 blocks per game on the season there. I'm curious how Utah defends them. I don't think they have an answer, and most teams don't. So I wouldn't recommend the under, but that is the way that I would lean if you made me pick a side here.
Yeah, that's. I don't think Filipowski is going to be D'ing up Wemby by no means on that one. But last time that the Spurs did play the Utah Jazz, as I said, Spurs won the game, but no Wemby in that battle. 126-118. You gotta love, Sean. I'll tell you what. Real quick on this side note, I feel like our NBA nicknames have taken on another level this year. Area 51 with Castle and Wemby. Oh, that's strong.
Yeah, Castle's the real deal too. He was probably my 1-1 list as far as players that impressed me in Summer League, getting to watch them in person out there. The dude's a winner. He makes winning plays. He's always in the right spot. He's comfortable playing off ball. And even part of my concern with Castle was this growing statement leading up to the draft of he wanted to be a point guard, or he only wanted to go to teams without a set point guard. Obviously, Chris Paul is the clear point guard for that team, but Castle has filled his role just fine, playing a little bit more natural to what he played at UConn, that it was more of an off-ball role. He even slides down and kind of plays like a forward in a lot of the defensive formations. You obviously do some unique stuff with Wemby there, but I'm in on Stephon Castle. That is a guy I would not rule out as a dark horse rookie of the year as the season progresses.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, Westside Connect. We were talking about Dalton Connect the other day as far as the NBA nicknames. Real quick on that, if we could. Where's Castle at? I know he was up there. Wasn't he up there as far as the awards are concerned on DraftKings? So I'm pulling it up right now. Rookie of the year via DraftKings Sportsbook. Yeah, he is. And hey, 20-1. That's a decent payout. But no one's trying to talk anybody about that Jared McCain ticket, because it seems like he's going to get a lot of playing time from here on out. We'll see what happens there. We'll talk some Sixers to close up shop here on the Takeover, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. But let's go ahead and hit the 5th and final game, tonight's NBA Cup action. Once again, DK, where we're getting all of our odds from. And as I'm buffering, let's just go ahead and hit it here. The Lakers and Phoenix. Yeah, 5th game here. Pretty good game. Of course, the hope is both will be back. Beal and Kevin Durant both back tonight?
Correct. Yes, both will be back.
All right, so we got the Suns listed right here as a 2.5-point home favorite going up against the Lakers here. And 234.5 is our total. These two teams have already played 2 times this season. Last time out in Phoenix, Phoenix got the best of 109-105 back on October 28th. And then October 25th, 123-116, the Lakers got the best of the Phoenix Suns at home. Tonight, though, Sean Barnard, your thoughts, where we stand on this one?
Yeah, I like the Suns -2.5, and I do like the under of 234.5 here. That I do think the boost of Durant and Beal is obviously a huge thing for this team. And I think people forget just how good the Suns started the season when all these guys were healthy. It was either 8-0 or 8-1 that they started the season overall. Looked really impressive, playing cohesive basketball. The ball movement was far better than I saw just about the entirety of last year. And I'm still kind of a believer in this Suns team. So the Lakers are no joke. You're obviously going to have to bring your best effort, and it's been a little bit up and down. They've settled down, and it is a little funny to me after all the victory laps of how good JJ Redick's been that they have the exact same record at this point last year. But I will note that, like, I think both these teams are semi-threats in the Western Conference, not quite in that real deal contender category, but I'm far closer to putting the Suns in it. So I think they take care of business tonight. I think it's a more defensive oriented approach than most are going to expect. And I think this probably ends closer to like a 107-105 type victory, or 107-104 type victory, something like that. I don't think either team cracks 110, and I think the Suns end up covering the spread.
Yeah, JJ had some words to say. Very blunt. He's not holding back. That's for dang sure. And I will read you this quote, and this is all based off of the second half against the Denver Nuggets, where he said, quote, "I can joystick it as much as I want, but if you're not competing and you're not playing and you're just not participating in a game, there's not a whole lot I can do." Tell you what, man, you can say those things when you are winning. You can say those things when you have everybody's belief in you, but man, he's got to earn that as a first-year head coach. I think that could wear thin. Now, as we pointed out, Lakers have been playing well in the NBA Cup. We know that they very well could win it all again this year if they're healthy. But man, I don't know. I feel like those are the strings you need to pull as the season goes on, and it really, like, there's got to be a need. I don't know about a second half against the Denver Nuggets, but in November is one of those times. But you know what? Maybe he deserves a little credit trying to set the tone. New sheriff in town. I don't know. We'll see how it works out. But like I said, in all of my years of watching sports and covering sports, those things only work. The rah-rah stuff only works when the team is winning.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that, and keep snapping those clipboards, JJ. We'll see how if that turns anything around here. I mean, the Lakers still have their issues as far as a roster. I'm not putting all this on JJ. I do think he's going to go through his growing pains as every first-year head coach does, and obviously kind of a rapid transition for Redick specifically here. So I'm not shocked to see a little bit of a step back from the early start. I'm still overall encouraged by what I've seen from the Lakers on the season long. There was also a pretty cool clip that came out of Connect walking up to and asking what was his pregame shooting routine. Could you take me through that? So there is some cool stuff with there. I do think Redick, to an extent, is living a little bit vicariously through Dalton Connect here, but that's fun. That's a good role model and guy for his shoes to follow in. So overall, it's going to be a long season for this Lakers team. I'm curious how Redick handles the entire grind here. It's a different story when you are on the coach's side.
I'm not trying to say I'm the JJ Redick of the Gambler, but I do live vicariously through you and Beef. So, you guys are young guns. That's what happens. We start to, get those young juices going again. I kid. All right. Well, let's go ahead and give some winners out if we can here. 5 games, NBA Cup. Once again, folks, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. And they have what you need for the NBA Cup action. The NBA Cup Double Up Profit Boost Pack. It's real easy to find. I know that this was a big emphasis to put out there for the people, because sometimes folks are struggling to find the player props. But you got to go ahead and go to DraftKings.com, click the link on top of the sports book. You scroll over the odds, see the drop down of NBA odds. In the middle of the screen, you see player points, player rebounds, player assists, player threes. Click any of those to access any of the available props and scroll down to find the current lines for each player. The promo code no promo code needed. All you got to do is opt in, and you will get the profit boosts. And once again, one will be for live action, the other one leading up to the game. So with that being said, let's see if we can give some winners leading up to the game. Your favorite play on the NBA Cup card tonight, Sean, is what?
I'm rolling with the Houston Rockets on the money line, plus 136 against the Timberwolves there. So I believe in this young team. They're hungry. They play hard defensively. They're all over the place. And I think that's the team the Timberwolves want to be and aren't quite. So sign me up for the Rockets taking care of business and winning outright there. Forget the number.
All right, I'm going to go to the Suns. I like the Suns, getting everybody back, the horses. As you pointed out, the team was really good to start the season, and things fell off. And I think they were 0-5 without Beal in the lineup. I think they had one win without Kevin Durant in the lineup. Like, this is, they have missed their two big pieces to the puzzle, and that's obvious. So Kevin Durant's still one of the best scorers in the game, current, present day. So give me, if both of those guys are back in action, which is expecting as they have practiced back-to-back days, they're rested, ready to go at home, 2.5-point favorites, 234.5. I'll take the Phoenix Suns there. All right. One player to keep an eye on for tonight out of the 5 games?
As far as player prop?
Yeah, give me a player prop.
I'll go to Giannis's points, and that number exactly as far as the over-under for him, sitting at 30.5. He's been incredible this year, man, and he does attack. Like, he's in attack mode constantly. As far as the number that he's averaging, to look at that on the year, 32.4, which is the most in the NBA. He's also attempting 21.5 shots per game, which is a career high for him, and making 60.8% of those shot attempts there. So the 3-point concerns are there, and in fact, he's taken a step back in his 3-point volume, just 0.9 per game this year. That would be the first time he averaged less than 1 3-point attempt since 2014, if that is to sustain throughout the season there. But it's clear he's been in attack mode there. So I've been really impressed with the level of play we're seeing from Giannis at this point in his career. I think 30.5 is too low. I'm not a believer in this Heat team being as imposing defensively as probably their reputation is. I think Giannis can go eye to eye with Bam Adebayo and get the better of him pretty comfortably. So sign me up for over 30.5 for Giannis.
I was going to go marketing, but it's going to be clogged up down low. You know what? I'm going to go Sexton. I like the I just don't have the stones to back the Utah Jazz tonight, but I'll go Colin Sexton player prop over 18.5. Last time out against the Knicks, he went off for 25. He has the next gear. He can go ahead and hit it. Now, consistently, has he been giving that to you this year? As I'm pulling up his overall. He's averaging 16.5 this year. Lately been turning it on just a little bit more. And as I said, had a really good game against the Knicks last time out. Hit the 25. His number was 16.5 there. We're bumped up to 18.5. Let's see what he's got. I like the Utah Jazz to play the role of spoiler this evening as well. At home against the San Antonio Spurs. All right, the takeover presented by DraftKings Sportsbook right here. Sean Brace and Sean Barnard. All right. We'll, of course, be back. We'll talk about all things NBA Cup as this rolls on. Friday will be our next day of action. And I believe we still, as I said, to open up shop, I still think we have 4 more days, including tonight, of group stage play until we move on to the knockout round, which is going to be exciting. Let's close up shop, though, unfortunately, with the struggles that the 76ers are currently facing. Sean Barnard. Could you go ahead and... look, we are a football society. There's a lot of people that possibly did not catch a lot of the action. Maybe they tuned in and we're like, no Joel Embiid. What happened? He played Memphis. It felt like, okay, he scores 30 plus. I know he picked up that knock at the end of the game. He went back in and he doesn't play Friday. He doesn't play on Sunday. They get routed at home. They lose by 30 to the Clippers in embarrassing fashion. Now he's ruled out for tomorrow. What's going on with Joel Embiid?
Yeah, the knee is not good is more or less what's going on with Joel. And that Grizzlies game in particular was interesting. That was the first time we really saw him play like Joel Embiid this year. That he's played 4 games, outclassify them as 1 bad game, which was the first game he played, 2 okay games, and then 1 good game, which was that Grizzlies game. What was interesting to me is listening to the post-game stuff. Nick Nurse after the game said based on their output metrics as far as however they log these players and like whatever amount of energy they're exerting, that was the most energy that Joel had exerted since post-surgery. That's talking even the playoffs, like more than he did in any game in the playoffs was what he left on the floor based on their metrics there. And clearly the knee did not respond well to that. So he's out again tomorrow for the matchup with the Rockets. Frankly, I think that one's going to get pretty ugly as well. The Clippers game, it wasn't close from start to finish in that one. As fun as Jared McCain is, as much as it's a blast to watch Tyrese Maxey, they just struggle pretty greatly beyond that. And you're not going to get the better of a lot of teams when that's your 1-2 punch for this team. So Paul George is out here saying he's 100% betting that the Sixers will turn things around this year, promising that there are better days ahead, but it is bleak right now. They're 3-13, and that number speaks for itself right there.
Did he say it on his podcast?
This was in front of his media availability, so I'll give him a little bit of props for this one. And we did get the inside scoop on. I can't believe anybody leaked the meeting, but let me talk about it on our podcast. I can't believe anybody is talking about this. So yeah, it's a circus right now.
It really is. And a great podcast. I forget the name of a great show, but BJ Armstrong, former Chicago Bull from the back of the day. And he has one other former executive, and then somebody else that's been involved in the league for a long time. And they talked about player podcasts and specifically Paul George. And, they were all in agreement that there is a lot of time to kill as a player. So they don't necessarily have an issue, but when things aren't going right, it doesn't present the right look. And that's where we're at right now with Paul George. Now, is he not going to do it? No. These guys are probably making some good money, sponsorships, hooking their friends up. There's more to just the story of Paul George. Plus, it doesn't seem like Paul George at this stage of his career is really going to care what somebody has to say negatively about him at 34 years of age. He's been around the block a few times, but it's not a good look. And it's a straight up circus right now with the 76ers. And if it wasn't for Jared McCain, this team very well could be the worst team in the NBA. They're knocking on the doorstep right now, but at least there's some sort of bright spot there. So it's very frustrating to have that, to have the clickbait thumbnail, and just, it's a tough one to swallow, but this season is slipping away at an alarming rate. And where I stand. I hate to say it. I just don't think that there's going to be a bounce back. It won't surprise me if they shut down Joel Embiid for the rest of the year. And if Paul George picks up another knock, it might be in their best interest to shut him down too as well. But again, I'm not a doctor, not trying to play it. I'm just going off of my gut feel. This team could very well go out there, and the NBA season is crazy. We've seen stuff that doesn't make sense in every single year. They can go out there and win 5 straight, right? And then what happens if that takes place? Then you get a little push in the right progression or right positive direction. But where I'm at right now, I'm second guessing everything from Nick Nurse. I'm worried about Tyrese a little bit. Like, I just don't think that this is going to be a positive season for him. Like Jared McCain, good luck. You're playing well. A lot of these role players, I can only imagine what's being said behind the scenes right now, Sean.
Yeah, no, it's ugly by every definition of it. And as far as like the blame, it's every single one of these guys. Every single member of the organization has some sort of blame in this. No one is 100% innocent in it. As far as like the chances of turnaround, it certainly has not been encouraging the actual on-court performances here. It is all about what the health level is. Like, say, let's exclude Joel here. Say Paul George is able to stay healthy from here on out, or at least mostly healthy. He's had 2 like legitimate, we've seen them injuries. This hasn't been like lingering stuff here that we saw, like the knee snap back. Again, not encouraging. You don't want to see this, but the reality is they're real deal things that he's dealing with. If he's able to stay healthy from here, I think a team with Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, and Jared McCain is probably still a playoff team. Now, have they dug them too big of a hole? You could certainly make that case or be concerned about it. But when looking at the Eastern Conference, man, there are not a lot of encouraging teams. We're talking about 9 of the 15 teams in the conference being below 500. The Sixers at 3-13 are 13 games out of first. They're only 5 games out of 6th place or 5th place in the Eastern Conference there. And when speaking about getting in the play-in game with the 10 seed being the worst spot there, they're only 3 games back from that. So a lot changes when you start to win games. Winning is the greatest medicine for everything, but the Sixers dosage is needing to get higher and higher. So they need to go in and take care of business, start ripping out a streak of wins. But if that happens, the vibes get better, the outlook gets better, and everything begins to fall into place from there. So while it's ugly, there's still a lot of season left to play, but they got to get working.
Go Birds. That's all I can say. Sean Barnard, you are the best. Another edition of the Takeover presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Nobody does it like Sean Barnard, and you can catch all of his content from the DraftKings team at DK Network. Be sure to follow him at Sean_Barnard1. I will be back daily ticket Monday through Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. Enjoy the games. Let's get some winners, and we'll be back on Friday covering it more for you right here on The Gambler.